Om Jayanti Mangala Kali Bhadra Kali Kapalini Durga Kshama Shiva Dhatri Swaha Swatha Namostute. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We salute the Universal Mother, the auspicious Goddess of Victory, who is beyond time, who is the embodiment of forgiveness, and who supports the whole universe. O Mother Kali, salutations to you. Om peace, peace, peace. Our subject today is stories from the Chandi. As most of you must know, the Chandi is a holy scripture from Hinduism that deals with God as the Divine Mother. I was going to say God in His aspect, but then I'm mixing it up. We are so conditioned to think of God as He that, we are likely to say it is devoted to God in His aspect as Mother, which makes no sense. So even in Christianity, sometimes I have discussed this with other people, Hindus or Christians. And the Christians say, but we have the worship of Mother Mary in our tradition. And I agree, it is true, but it's not the same thing. To give you an example, in Christianity we say God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. To make the equivalent in what we mean by this approach in Hinduism, you would have to say God the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, which for us it sounds so odd. You wouldn't say God the Mother, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. But that is the approach, that yes, the ultimate God is Mother, according to the Chandi. So there are several stories in the Chandi. Today we'll only deal with one, the first story from the first chapter. So let us talk a little about this book, the Chandi. The word Chandi comes from it's a name of the Divine Mother. It comes from the Sanskrit word Chanda, which means fierce. So the Divine Mother fights all the demons, all the negative forces, fiercely. That is the meaning of Chandi. Another name is Shri Durga Saptashati, 700 verses on Mother Durga. Another name is Devi Mahatmyam, the glories of the goddess. So these are different names for the same book. So this book appears in the Markandeya Purana, just like the Bhagavad Gita appears in the Mahabharata. So this book is part of the Markandeya Purana. And it has 700 verses, not exactly like the Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes they stretch them a little to reach the number of 700. You will find that in some sections, one verse is counted as 3. It jumps 12 to 15, 15 to 18. So somehow they reach 700 verses. So it's divided into 3 sections. The first chapter is section 1. Chapters 2 to 4 is the second section. And 5 to 13 is the last section. So let's go into the subject matter. We find the sage Markandeya talking to his disciple in the first opening verse. Markandeya said to his disciple, Savarni is called the 8th Manu. Let me tell you the story of how he became the 8th Manu by the grace of Mahamaya. We have to talk a little about Hindu mythology here to understand what it means. So basically the guru is telling the disciple, let me tell you the story of how so-and-so became the 8th Manu. What is Manu? Manu is like a deity, you can say, is considered to be the first human, the progenitor of humanity. So I will make it very brief for you because I don't want to bore you with these mythological details. They go very specifically into numbers of years they are alive, etc., etc., etc. Basically, one cycle of creation. This universe comes into being and disappears. That is one day of Brahma, the creator. So the creator has one day for us, the whole universe came into being and disappeared. So I worked it out, just an aside, that how long is a blink of Brahma? That means 1 second. It takes to blink. 50,000 years of human years. So anyway, it's interesting how they have this exact number of years that each god lives, etc. So anyway, within one day of Brahma, there are 14 Manus that give rise to humanity. After Manu, humanity follows, is the first human. Anyway, so basically the sage is telling, let me tell you how so-and-so became the number 8. There are 14 in one cycle of creation. So number 8 became this one. There is a story behind it. Let me tell you. Basically, that is what it's saying. Long ago, there was a king named Suratha. He protected his subjects like his own children. Once the king was defeated in battle, so he retreated to his city. But the enemies continued their attack there. So the king was vulnerable. And at that point, the generals and ministers betrayed him. And he left on horseback for a dense forest. Because everything was lost. The enemies are circling the city, and those who should have supported at the time of need in this crisis, all the ministers and supporters, they deserted him. They looted the treasury. They turned the army against the king. So he's alone. So he fled on horseback for a dense forest, just to save himself. The king was good. It says he protected his subjects like his own children, going beyond the duties of a king. He cared for them as if they are his own children. So the king, in the dense forest, he came across a hermitage, the hermitage of the sage Medas. And he found the sage living with his disciples in the middle of the forest. And there were wild animals living nearby who were completely harmless. You can imagine tigers and lions not hurting anybody. So that is the description. There were wild animals that were harmless and did not injure anyone, which is one of the traits of an illumined soul. They create such an atmosphere around them that even wild animals become like lambs. They're harmless. So the king was entertained by the sage, and he spent some time there at the hermitage. But there, then, overcome with attachment, the king began to think, I don't know if the capital, which was well guarded by my ancestors and now deserted by me, is being well guarded or not by my servants of evil conduct. How is my chief elephant being treated by my foes? Now my followers who received so many favors from me must be paying homage to other kings, and the treasure I gathered with so much effort will now be squandered by others. So the king reaches this hermitage, spends some time with the sage, but then these thoughts arise in his mind. What's happening in the kingdom? How is my chief elephant? Even his pets, he is thinking. So all the attachments come back to him. And he is pondering about these things. So that happens. We go to a holy place and we hope our minds will rise high. But then reality hits. And we find that our minds don't cooperate. I remember when I was in another Vedanta center where we have one of the activities is to provide accommodation for guests. Somebody wants to come and have a retreat, they can stay at the Vedanta Society and they can have a quiet time of meditation and study, maybe however they like, 3 days, 1 week, 2 weeks, whatever. So I noticed that sometimes people would say, Swami, I'm coming for 2 weeks. I need a break. I want to just meditate. And then after a few days, they said, Swami, I'm going back home. And what happens is, the intention is there. I want to spend 2 weeks. I have the time. But when I get there and I try, after some days I find, whoa, my mind is too restless or whatever. I just can't let go and enjoy this atmosphere. I need to go back. So I noticed that happened, once in a while. People have the plans, but they cannot follow through. Sri Ramakrishna used to say, with this musical scale, sa re ga ma pa dha ni, it's very hard to keep it in ni all the time. So the mind comes down. You can go up, but then ni, how long can you be there? So the mind comes down also. So we think of God, and then we think of other things. We get bored. It becomes too hard to keep it up. I tell you another story. Once a devotee told me, Swami, can you order this book for me? I said, yes, but it will take some days. I will let you know when it is available. So he said, fine. Tomorrow I'm going on a Buddhist retreat, 10 days, no phone, nothing, no social media. We observe silence. We have our meals in silence. We meditate and we study. So each person to themselves, they have a room. You don't even make eye contact. You can go for a walk, but you look at the floor, at the ground. So basically, it's 10 days of intensive meditation, and you're supposed to disconnect from everything. So he told me all about it. And he was very enthusiastic, and I found it interesting. So he said, I'm going tomorrow. I said, fine. I'll let you know when the book is available. I'll text you. So after 2-3 days, the book was available. And I just texted him that just to let you know, the book is available. You can pick it up anytime. In 5 minutes, he replied, thanks, Swami. Then I said to him, how come? You're supposed to be in the retreat. He said, oops. He just couldn't keep the phone switched off. And I found it funny because I genuinely did not expect him to reply. I thought, okay, his 10-day retreat, he will see that after 10 days was the problem, no problem. But no, we have the intention, but then it's hard. It is hard. So the same thing happened to this king, that he was there in the hermitage with the sage. Everything is conducive to thinking of God, higher things. But these old thoughts come to bother him. He's thinking about all these things. While the king was thinking thus, he noticed a merchant near the hermitage. He greeted him. Hello, who are you? What's the reason for your coming here? Why do you look so sad and depressed? So the king is talking to the merchant. Being addressed in a friendly tone by the king, the merchant bowed respectfully and replied, I am a merchant, born in a wealthy family. My name is Samadhi. I have been cast out by my sons and wife, who are wicked and greedy. My wife and sons have taken possession of my wealth. Cast out by my trusted relatives, I have come to the forest, grief-stricken. So in the Gita, Sri Krishna says, there are 4 types of people who worship God or who seek God. Arto, Jignasu, Artharti, Jnani. So this is the first category, Arto, the afflicted. Some people turn to God because of their suffering. So this is the case of the merchant. He came to the forest because of this crisis that he was ousted by his own people, kicked out of the house. Then, according to the Gita, the other types are Jignasu, the seeker of knowledge. I want to make sense of life. It's not that I am suffering, but what is the meaning of all this? Life seems to make no sense. Can I find a purpose? That is the Jignasu. They seek God because they want to know God. They want to know what life is about. Then, Artarti, the seeker of enjoyment. Someone believes that by worshiping God, they will be successful, they will be famous, they will be wealthy, whatever. Especially in India, this is more prevalent. I'll worship God and I will get these material things from God. And finally, the Jnani. They know God, they worship God out of love. They don't want anything, but they will still worship God. So these are the 4 types of people who seek God. The afflicted, the seeker of knowledge, the seeker of wealth, and the sage. So the merchant has come to the forest seeking peace of mind. The merchant continues, talking to the king. Dwelling here, now I am wondering how my wife and children are doing. Are they well? Are they living good lives? And the king, who had been, remember, he had been thinking about his kingdom, he says, why is your mind affectionately attached to those greedy relatives who took everything away from you? The merchant, this very thought has occurred to me, just as you have uttered it. What can I do? My mind does not let go. It still bears deep affection to the very people who have driven me out in their greed and selfishness. I do not understand it, although I know it. How is it that the mind is still lovingly attached to those worthless relatives? So you can see that the king is thinking of the kingdom. He cannot let go. And the merchant is thinking of his relatives who have made him suffer, who clearly don't love him, but he still is thinking of them. He cannot let go of his affection. So the king says, this makes no sense. Why are you still attached? And the merchant says, yeah, I am also thinking about that. Why am I still attached? I shouldn't be. I know, but I don't understand it. I know I shouldn't love them. I know they are not worthy of it, but I can't help it, and I can't understand why this is happening. I am just helpless. So what is the answer? I think you can guess the answer. Maya. Vedanta says it's because of Maya that we become attached. Even though we know it is not good for us, still we cannot let go. Still that deludes us. Swami Vivekananda, in his lecture on Maya, said, there was never a mother who did not think her child was a born genius, the most extraordinary child that was ever born. She dotes upon her child. The child grows up, perhaps becomes a drunkard, a brute, ill-treats the mother. And the more he abuses her, the more her love increases. People praise it as the unselfish love of the mother, little dreaming that the mother is a slave. She cannot help it. She would 1,000 times rather throw off the burden, but she cannot. So she covers it with flowers, which she calls wonderful love. And this is Maya. Now, it may sound harsh, perhaps, what Swamiji is saying. I mean, nobody would say, oh, the mother should not love the child because he becomes this or that. Of course, there is love of the mother. And of course, that is correct. The problem is, it is contaminated with attachment. And it becomes mixed up. and then it becomes a source of suffering for the mother, and she cannot let go. That is the problem. Not that the mother loves the child. The problem is the attachment that is mixed up with the love. That is what Swamiji is addressing. You will find in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna an entry that deals with this subject. Towards the end of 1883, M stayed with Sri Ramakrishna for 23 days, from December 14th to January 5th, 1884. So that's the only time that we know about that M spent more than 3 weeks with Sri Ramakrishna, continuously staying with him, day and night. So M writes, it's an interesting incident. It was Saturday, December 29. That means he had spent 2 weeks with Sri Ramakrishna already. He had left behind his family in Calcutta and was alone with Sri Ramakrishna. So M writes, at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, Sri Ramakrishna got into a carriage to visit the temple of Kali at Kalighat. While the carriage was waiting near the master's room, M went to the master and said, "Sir, may I also go with you?" Master, why? M, I should like to visit my home in Calcutta. Sri Ramakrishna reflected a moment and said, must you go home? Why? You are quite all right here. So this was unusual. Normally Sri Ramakrishna would have even invited him. Come, let us go to Kalighat, Let us go together. That would have been the normal thing. But here Sri Ramakrishna not only did not invite him, but when he wanted to come along, he said, why? Why do you want to go? You are all right here. So M writes, M wanted to see his people for a few hours, but evidently the master did not approve. Then, at the end of his stay with Sri Ramakrishna, when he has to go back home, Sri Ramakrishna sends him home and says, now go home and live there. Let them know that you belong to them, but you must remember in your heart of hearts that you do not belong to them, nor they to you. So this is the teaching about Maya, how to love without attachment. So Sri Ramakrishna he's not telling be a hypocrite. He's not telling deceive them. He's telling them act like all people do. They should feel that you belong to them. Show them that they belong to you, but deep in your heart, know the truth. They do not belong to you, nor you belong to them. Now, Sri Ramakrishna is not telling him, don't love your relatives. He never says that. Don't love them. He's telling, don't be attached. The moment we say, mine, suffering comes. So the challenge is how to love without attachment. Sri Ramakrishna elsewhere spoke about this. He said there are two things, Maya and Daya. Maya binds us to the world and makes us suffer. Daya liberates us and takes us to God. So what is Maya? Maya is my child, my spouse, my parents, my friends. What is Daya? Love for all. So Maya is I love only mine, I and mine. Whoever I project this mine onto, those I love. But Daya says, I want to love everybody. And when I love everybody, my own relatives are included. It's not that I have to stop loving them. So you expand that love that was earlier just limited by Maya to a small circle. You expand it to the whole world and say, let me love all beings. And that includes my relatives. That includes my friends. So that is what Sri Ramakrishna says. Love them, but don't be attached. Of course, this cannot be achieved overnight. It takes time. We have to continue with our spiritual practices, and as a result of our spiritual practices, we will experience more and more of this daya, this universal love. And naturally, the attachment will decrease. Our love for our relatives will not decrease, will grow, but our attachment will decrease. It can be confusing. How can the love grow and the attachment decrease? But it is like that. But it takes time, because we have gotten accustomed to a certain way of thinking, and it's very hard to change. In fact, we don't think. It is like autopilot, the thinking. To give you an example, some months ago, it's a very trivial example, but it really illustrates this point. So some time ago, the garbage can in the kitchen broke. So it has a pedal. You press with your foot the pedal, and it opens the lid. And it broke, so the pedal doesn't work. So you have to open the lid with your hand. So we ordered a new one, that will work with the pedal. But it took several days to arrive, maybe a week. So during that time, whenever anybody wanted to throw anything away, they would go and press with the foot. Of course, it's not working. We all know that. We know. We haven't forgotten. But when the time comes to throw something away, and then you feel so dumb. And you start thinking, why am I doing this? Because I'm not thinking. Someone else, as if someone else is doing the thinking for us, is mechanical. So just a very trivial example, but it shows how conditioned we are. And we know we have to do something in a certain way, but because we got used to another way, we stick to it. So it's very hard to change it. It takes time. So now the king and the merchant became acquainted, and they had this dialogue. And the king told him, this doesn't make sense. You are still attached to your relatives who are making you suffer. So now they both go to the sage Medas to talk to him about this, to try to get some advice about this. So both approached the sage Medas, and after showing proper respect, they sat down with him to talk. Now the king says, "Sir, I have a question. Without the control of my intellect, my mind is afflicted with sorrow. I have lost my kingdom, and I well understand that. But still, like an ignorant person, I have an attachment to all the things of the kingdom. And this merchant has been disowned by his children, wife, and servants, has been forsaken by his own people. Still, he is inordinately affectionate towards them. Thus, he and I, drawn by attachment towards objects whose defects we do know, are deeply unhappy. How is it that, although we are aware of it, this delusion comes?" So this is the question that the king places before the sage, explaining their plight. Why? We understand that we shouldn't be attached. We understand that we have to let go, but the mind refuses to obey. The mind is still tormenting us with this lingering attachment. Why? So this is these scriptures with these stories, they will place these questions before us, and they represent our own questions. All of us at some point or other have asked ourselves, why am I doing this? Why am I letting this bother me? And yet we don't find a way out. Somehow we are under delusion. This was expressed by Duryodhana in the Mahabharata. He was of noble birth. He was powerful, he was wealthy, he had all the things that a person may want in life, but still wanted more. And he was willing to go to war for that. So the elders were trying to persuade him not to follow this course of action, to give up. You don't need more. Why do you want to go to war? And then Duryodhana's answer was, Janami dharmam nachame pravrittihi. Janami adharmam nachame nivrittihi. I know what is dharma. I know what is right, but I cannot follow it. I know what is wrong, adharma, but I cannot refrain from it. It is as if some entity sitting in my heart is making me do all these things. So it's a very famous quote from Duryodhana. And all human beings, we feel this sometimes, that we know better, but we cannot practice it. So there is a conflict between the buddhi, the intellect, and the vasanas, the impulses, the desires. Now, Vedas will give the answer. And he's a philosopher, so he will not give it right away. A little roundabout way, he will come to the answer. So he says, the sage replies, every being has knowledge perceived through the senses. If we don't have any of the five senses, we cannot have any knowledge. So we need at least some of them to have knowledge of the external world. So he says, every being has knowledge perceived through the senses. Some beings are blind by day. For instance, owls. Owls cannot see well during the daytime. Some beings are blind by night. Human beings. We cannot see in the dark. Some beings, they have good vision, day and night, like cats. Cats can see both during the day and at night. So he says, human beings are endowed with knowledge, but also so are other animals. Look at these birds. They themselves are distressed by hunger, and yet, because of the delusion, are engaged in feeding their young ones. In the same way, people are deluded by Mahamaya. So it's an example he's giving that there happen to be some birds there. He says they themselves are starving, but they are feeding their young ones. Why? Because of this attachment. They cannot help it. In the same way, people are deluded by Mahamaya. She creates the entire universe. She deludes even the wise. And she also gives liberation. She is the cause of bondage and the cause of final liberation. So this is one of the traits of the worship of the Divine Mother. You will find that different traditions stress different aspects of God. And when you come to the tradition of worshiping the Divine Mother of the universe, you'll find this duality. She is the deluder. She will trick you. She will make you fall for it. She will deceive you with Maya. But she will always also liberate you. She will show you the truth. She will remove all bondage from you and make you free. It's this dual aspect in the same deity. You don't need Satan to lead you astray. The Divine Mother will lead you astray. It's the same goddess that embodies both Maya and Daya. And the best representation, according to Swami Vivekananda, best representation of God is Mother Kali. He says, in the image of Kali, everything is included. So you have four hands. The right hands, you have fearlessness and granting of boons. So the Divine Mother is saying, fear not, I'll protect you, no matter what. And then she says, what do you want? Here, you have it. Whatever you want, I'll give it to you. But then, left hands, the sword and the severed head. If you misbehave, boom. If you are egotistical, boom. So, it's the same goddess. Swami Vivekananda said, it's the best representation of God. Why? Why? Is God cruel? No. God is everything. That is why it's the best representation. God is everything. It is we who call something cruel and something good. We say, oh, the deer, they're so cute, so innocent, so nice. And the lion is so cruel, bloodthirsty. He's a predator, he's a hunter, he's so cruel. Tell that to the farmer who is growing the crops. If there is no lion, he will have no crops. And the deer who seems so innocent and cute, the farmer will hate them because his family will starve because the deer eating the crops. So we call the lion bad and the deer cute. But they are both creatures of God. So from that perspective, when you look at it from that point of view, the image of the Divine Mother Kali makes perfect sense. It's the totality of existence, the totality. It includes everything. It is we who call it good or bad. For God, there is nothing. It just is. Creation is. So, this duality of happiness and misery that we find in life, that is represented by Mother Kali, life and death, happiness and misery, prey and predator, it's something that usually bothers people. Why do we need to have suffering? Why do we need to kill the cute deer? If God is all-powerful, why can't we have deer and lions living together? Why is it so cruel, the plan of the universe? Well, we don't know. We don't understand. So Vedanta calls it's a lila. It's a game. It's a play. The Divine Mother is playing. But we don't understand it. So that is the best approximation that Vedanta can give. It's a play. The Divine Mother is playing with us. Yesterday, I went for a walk, and I was reminded of this point. So I saw a young father mowing his lawn. And there was a small kid, maybe 3 years old, 4 years old. He didn't walk very well, but he had a toy lawnmower. And he was mowing the lawn. And the father he's busy. He wants to get the job done. He's not playing. He's doing the real thing. He's sweating and mowing the lawn. But the kid, just like the father, he's with his toy lawnmower. And then he stops to look at the bird. I was just looking for a little time. And then he starts mowing on the pavement, the kid, because he doesn't have a clue what he's doing. He just sees the father mowing the lawn, and he has his toy lawnmower, and he thinks he's doing the same thing as the father. He has no idea what's going on. And if the father tries to explain to him, this is what I'm doing, this is the meaning of mowing the lawn, he's a 3-year-old. He will never get it. So tell him this is all a game. Daddy is playing, and you also play. And then he'll understand. He'll be happy. So that reminded me when we try to understand what's the meaning of this universe. Why is there so much suffering? We are like that little kid with the lawnmower. Well, there's no way we can get it until we become illumined. The father will not even try to explain. There is no point. Have fun. So, but it is called the Leela of the Divine Mother. This is her play. She's playing with us. That's the best explanation that Vedanta can give you. So, in the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, there is the passage where Sri Ramakrishna deals with this. Sri Ramakrishna says, bondage and liberation are both of her making, the Divine Mother's making. By her Maya, worldly people become entangled in worldliness, and again, through her grace, they attain liberation. This theme comes back again and again. She does both. She is responsible for both. Then Sri Ramakrishna sang a song of Ramprasad, a famous song. In the world's busy marketplace, O Shyama, you are flying kites. High up they soar on the wind of hope, held fast by Maya's string. So this world is compared to a busy marketplace. People are haggling, give me this, take that, this price is too high, and then some pickpocket is stealing somebody's wallet, somebody is begging for money, somebody is, playing music. It's a busy marketplace, a lot of confusion. This is this world. In this busy marketplace, what is the Divine Mother doing? She's flying kites. And they soar high on the wind of hope. Hope is what keeps us going, that tomorrow it will be better. Tomorrow I will achieve this, I will achieve that. It is because of hope that we keep going all the time. But we are held back by Maya's string. The Divine Mother is holding us back with the string of the kite. We are earthbound. The Divine Mother makes sure that we are earthbound. The song continues. Upon the kite strings, you, meaning the Divine Mother, have rubbed the manja paste of worldliness, so as to make each string all the more sharp and strong. So this refers to a game in Bengal of kids flying kites. So on the string of the kite, they will apply some paste made of glue and glass shards, so that string becomes very hard and sharp. And the objective is you will cut the string of the other kites. So many kids are flying kites. You are supposed to cut their strings. And then the last one to remain is the winner. So here Ramprasad beautifully compares the play of the Divine Mother in the universe to this kite flying contest. The Divine Mother has applied this paste on this string of Maya that is holding us down. And if you are hard and sharp, you will stay in the game. If you are gentle and soft, you are liberated. And the kite flies away to the infinite. So the song continues. Out of 100,000 kites, at best but one or two break free. And you laugh and clap your hands, O Mother, watching them. On favoring winds, says Ramprasad, the kites set loose will quickly be borne away to the infinite, across the sea of the world. So very few are liberated. And Mother claps her hands. Say, oh, look, one is gone. But she wants the game to continue, so she will she will keep playing with the kites. Then Sri Ramakrishna, after singing this song, he says, the Divine Mother is always playful. This universe is her play. She is self-willed and must always have her own way. She gives freedom to one out of 100,000. Now a devotee asks Sri Ramakrishna, but sir, if she likes, she can give freedom to all. Why then has she kept us bound to the world? Now, this is a very reasonable question. She is all-powerful. Why doesn't she liberate us? It is within her power. We are suffering here. So what does Sri Ramakrishna reply? He says, that is her will. She wants to continue playing with her created beings. Her pleasure is in continuing the game. It is as if the Divine Mother says to the human mind in confidence, with a wink of her eyes, go and enjoy the world. So she's winking and saying, have fun, go. There's completely different approach from what we are used to in Christianity. Sin and all that, no, Mother is saying, go, have fun, enjoy the world, if you can. So Sri Ramakrishna says, it is as if the Divine Mother says to the human mind in confidence, with a wink of her eyes, go and enjoy the world. How can one blame the mind? How can we blame our own minds? We are helpless. She is all-powerful. The mind can disentangle itself from worldliness if, through her grace, she makes it turn towards herself. Then Sri Ramakrishna sang another song, taking upon himself, as it were, the suffering of the devotees. He sang a song complaining to the Divine Mother. Another song of Ramprasad. Mother, this is the grief that sorely grieves my heart, that even with you for mother, and though I am wide awake, there should be robbery in my house. So this is what we were talking about, that when you know that you can do better, but we don't. That is what he is referring to. Now, suppose you are at home and you're fast asleep, and robbers enter your home and they steal everything. You can't be blamed. You were fast asleep. They were too good. Now suppose you were wide awake and you hear them stealing and coming and going and you do nothing. Then it is your fault. So Ramprasad says, this is my grief. I am wide awake and I am your child, O Divine Mother, and still there is robbery in my house. I still let it happen. I am wide awake and I still let it happen. So this is my suffering. Says Ramprasad, the song continues, you have given me this mind, and with a knowing wink of your eyes, bidden it at the same time to go and enjoy the world. The same sentiment. The Divine Mother is telling our minds, go and enjoy. And so I wander through your creation, blasted, as it were, by someone's evil glance, taking the bitter for the sweet, taking the unreal for the real. So Sri Ramakrishna is singing this song, assuming the attitude of a devotee who is pained at this situation, that I know I can do better, but still I cannot do better. I am wide awake and still this is happening. So Sri Ramakrishna says, all are deluded through her Maya and have become attached to the world. So this is the idea of the Leela. The Divine Mother wants to play here, and she wants to keep the game going. And she winks her eye and tells us, go and enjoy. There's nothing wrong. Have fun in the world. And then I can have some excitement. I want something to happen. Otherwise, it's too boring. So we should go back to the story that the king had asked, how does this delusion come? Why can't we let go? And the sage had said, it is because of Mahamaya. She deludes and she liberates. So now the king, after hearing about this, it is because of Mahamaya, he wants to know more. Who is this Mahamaya? How does she operate? So these are the next questions from the king. He asks the sage, who is that goddess you call Mahamaya? How did she come into being? What's her sphere of action? What is her nature? The sage replies, she is eternal, embodied as the universe. All this is pervaded by her. Still, she incarnates in many ways, though she is eternal. So now he's going to proceed to tell the story, one story, to give an example of how the Divine Mother incarnates herself, although she is the spirit pervading the whole universe. Still she incarnates herself. So this is like a story within a story. We started with Markandeya, who is telling how King Surata and the merchant Samadhi met with sage Medas and asked him these questions. And now, within the story told by Markandeya, sage Medas is going to tell another story. So it's a story within a story, and it's very easy to lose track. So then, Medas tells the story. At the end of a kalpa, we spoke about it, the cycle of creation and dissolution of the universe. So the day of Brahma is over, and there is an ocean, an infinite ocean, that there is no name and form. There is no universe. So that is the end of a kalpa. And the divine Godhead, Vishnu, is fast asleep because there is nothing to do. So he's fast asleep. This is the mythological idea. So this is the situation. At the end of the kalpa, Vishnu was fast asleep. And then another creation is going to start. So from the navel of Vishnu, a lotus arose. In that lotus is Brahma, who is going to create another universe. At that point, from the earwax of Vishnu, two demons arose. It may sound funny. Huh? Does God have dirt in his ears? But that is the story. From his earwax, 2 demons arose, Madhu and Kaitava. So these are destructive forces. And they started attacking Brahma, who wanted to start a new universe, started the creative process. And Brahma is no match for them. These 2 demons, they got a boon from the goddess that they will only be killed if they agree to it. So they have to say, yes, you can kill me, then they can be killed. Otherwise, nobody can kill them. Unless they agree to it, nobody can kill them. So they are invincible. So Brahma is no match for them. So this Madhu stands for tamas. Madhu literally means honey. Honey is very dense and heavy. If you eat a lot, you feel very tamasic, very lethargic. So Madhu stands for tamasic forces. And Kaitaba is derived from the word kita, which means an insect or a bee. It stands for rajas, activity. So Madhu, Kaitaba, these are tamasic and rajasic forces, destructive forces. And Brahma is the sattvic force, the creative force. You see, when you want to create something, you have to follow an order. If you want to have an oak tree, you have to plant the acorn, water, put manure, and wait maybe 20 years until you have an oak tree. But if you want to destroy it, 1 minute is enough. You see, we had the tornado some months ago. 100-year-old trees. It took 3 minutes. The tornado lasted 3 minutes. Those 100-year-old trees are gone. It took 100 years for them to grow, and it took 3 minutes to bring them down. You can destroy them with dynamite, with a chainsaw, with a tornado. It's very easy. So when it comes to destroying these demonic forces, these forces of tamas and rajas, they're very chaotic and very fast. But Brahma, the sattvic force, to build up something, to create something, has to follow the rules, has to take time. There is an order of things when you want to create something, not when you want to destroy it. So anyway, they attack Brahma, and Brahma is helpless. He is no match for them. So he is thinking, I need help. And his only help is the Supreme Lord, Vishnu, who is fast asleep. So Vishnu cannot help him. So he thinks, okay, who is keeping God asleep? Okay, it's Yoga Nidra, the Divine Mother. The divine, the feminine aspect, the power of God, Shakti, is present in God and keeping him asleep. So he prays to the Divine Mother, withdraw yourself, the Shakti of God, withdraw yourself from the person of Vishnu so that he can wake up. So he sings a long hymn. It's called Brahmastuti, in praise of the Divine Mother, so that the Divine Mother may awaken Vishnu, so that Vishnu can kill the demons. So that hymn is quite long, but there are some nice points that we can mention. He says, Brahma is praising the Divine Mother. You are the supreme knowledge, and you are the deepest ignorance. You embodied both, the highest knowledge and the deepest ignorance. You are Kalaratri, the dark night of periodic dissolution. When we go to sleep every day, we are helpless. It is the Divine Mother, Kalaratri, that puts us to sleep. And the universe disappears for us. Every day, the universe disappears for us. She is that daily night. Then you are Maharatri, the great night of final dissolution. When we die, we don't know what will happen. It's a big unknown. We see everything dark there. We don't know. The Divine Mother, she is that great night, that Maharatri of final dissolution. And then you are Moharatri. You are the terrible night of delusion, which is worse than death. She deludes us. Then she says, again, you are the goddess of good fortune, You are both terrible and most pleasing, most compassionate. Whatever real there is, Sat, it derives its power from you. Whatever unreal there is, Asat, it derives its power from you. Now, how to understand this? Something is real and it has power. I can understand. The Divine Mother is behind that power. But something is unreal. And the Brahma says, you are also behind that power. Well, suppose you are seeing a mirage. It's not real, but it will have an effect on you. Suppose the doctor gives you a placebo and says, take this, you will get cured. You take it and you get cured. There's no medicine. It is completely unreal. And yet you got cured. So she is behind all power, whatever Sat or Asat, real or unreal. She is the source of all power. So at the end of this long hymn, Brahma asks for two boons. Please wake up Vishnu and delude the demons so that they may be killed. These two things he asks. So, pleased with the hymn, the Divine Mother that was not visible, she was keeping Vishnu asleep, she was residing in the person of Vishnu, the Supreme Lord. She withdraws herself from Vishnu and manifests herself outside Vishnu. And then Vishnu wakes up and he sees that Brahma is about to be killed by these two demons, and he starts fighting with the demons. And this goes on for thousands of years. But he cannot kill them because they have a boon. And even God cannot kill them unless they agree. So this goes on for a long time. And then the Divine Mother deludes the demons. And they become very arrogant. And they say to Vishnu, ask for a boon. So they thought, we are so great, we can even give God a boon. Normally it is God who will grant boons, but the demons got so carried away by their own prowess that they thought, we are pleased with you, ask for a boon. And then Vishnu said, if you are pleased with me, you say God has no ego. God does not mind asking for a boon. It will get the work accomplished. So he says, if you are pleased with me, then grant me this boon, that you may be killed by me right now. So they're helpless. They have to agree because they offered the boon. So one last trick they tried. They said, okay, they saw on all directions there is nothing but water. It's an infinite ocean. So they said, you can kill us wherever there is no water. And Vishnu said, okay. He himself was above the water, so he put them on his lap and chopped off their heads. And that was the end of the Madhu and Kaitaba, the story. So you could interpret this in many ways, this little story. One way to look at it is, who is Brahma, the creator? He could be understood to be our little self. We are trying to do the right thing. And then, who are Madhu and Kaitaba? The tamasic and rajasic forces, destructive forces. And they are too powerful for us. They seem to always somehow or other have their way. So we want to be sattvic, we want to be holy, we want to be saints. But then Madhu and Kaitaba come along and say, hey, not so quick. We are very powerful. Then we need help. By our own means, we cannot conquer these negative forces. Then we have to wake up God. Who is God, Vishnu? Our own Atman. Our own divinity is lying dormant within us. We have not been able to manifest it. But Swami Vivekananda said, everybody has God within them. The infinite power is within all of us. But what's the problem? Like Vishnu, that power is asleep. Who is keeping Vishnu asleep? We said earlier, whose world is this? Who is having fun? The Divine Mother. It is all her play. She is keeping Vishnu asleep. So she is keeping our divinity hidden. So what do? We pray to the Divine Mother, please awaken my divinity. Wake up God. Wake up Vishnu within me. Then Vishnu will be able to defeat these forces. Our little selves, how can we do it? How can we achieve it? So I can see a very nice correlation between Vedantic ideas and this little story from the Chandi. So it's the Divine Mother who is able to wake the divinity within us. And when that is achieved, these little demonic forces are nothing compared to our own power. They are helpless. But until that happens, they seem to be all powerful. So that brings the story to the end. But we haven't finished the first story. We started with Markandeya telling his disciple, let me tell you how Savarni became the 8th Manu. And then all this came after that. The story of King Suratha, the merchant Samadhi, the sage Medas, and Vishnu, Madhuankaitaba, etc. But what happened? How did Savarni became the 8th Manu? That is known at the end of the whole book. So we'll jump there just to finish the whole story. So we are jumping now to the end of the book, 13th chapter. So other stories are told about how the Divine Mother embodies herself in this world. And at the end of all the stories, the king and the merchant, they went to the bank of a river. There's no mention of if it was Ganges or not. It's just a river. And they made a clay image of the Divine Mother, and they prayed to her, and they worshipped it, and they meditated for 3 years. And then the Divine Mother appeared before them and said, I'm pleased with you, ask for a boon. And the merchant was full of dispassion, and he said, I want self-knowledge. And the Divine Mother said, so be it. And he became liberated. And the king said, I want a kingdom in this life and a kingdom after life. So he still had desires to work out. And the Divine Mother said, so be it. So he became a king, and then when he died, he became the 8th Manu. So that is how the story goes. So now we have answered all the questions. So the idea is, in this tradition, to approach God as Mother and to know that she is the ultimate power. And it is within her power to take us to God, even to give us Brahmajnana, the highest, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, the Divine Mother. She will do it for us. You don't have to worry too much. Sri Ramakrishna said, pray to the Divine Mother. Everything is within her power. And if we are lax and we don't care, she doesn't mind, because that means the game is continuing. So either way, she's happy. If you want God, she say, have it. If you say, I want to be a king, she says, okay, have it. Let us have fun. The play will continue. Okay, we'll stop here. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotir Gamaya Mrityur Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Om peace, peace, peace. So there is no, what is it called? Zoom. We'll have the usual library meeting, but there is no Zoom today because Swami Chetananda is traveling, I think. He's in Portland. And next week, I should not forget to mention, we have the Krishna Festival. As usual, singing, chanting, talk by Swami Shivarchananandaji. The title of Swami's talk will be From the Mountain of Despair, a Stone of Hope. And then lunch will be served at 12:30. That's the usual time, starts 10:35.